This is an across-the-globe special report, Middle East Escalation, a timeline of the conflict that has redefined the region. Good evening. I'm reporting on a week of unprecedented escalation. In just 7 days, a regional dispute has transformed into a global crisis. Tonight, we detail every major event of this conflict so far. The spark was the final collapse of nuclear negotiations. As diplomacy failed, the world prepared for a military response that would come within mere hours. The campaign began with heavy bombardment of Tehran. Israeli and American missiles targeted command centers and air defense batteries across the Iranian capital. Strategic targets soon included civil industrial sites. A massive oil storage facility south of Tehran was engulfed in flames, marking a significant shift in strike policy. Aboard Air Force One, President Donald Trump clarified the U.S. objective: maximum attrition. He has dismissed the idea of a settlement until Iran's military capacity is effectively removed. This strategy aims to destroy the functioning military apparatus of the Islamic Republic, targeting not just nuclear capabilities, but every level of command and control. By mid-week, the conflict had spread. Iran responded with drone and missile strikes across the Gulf, hitting U.S. allies and military installations in several neighboring nations. In the United Arab Emirates, the Revolutionary Guard targeted Al Dhafra Air Base. This strike resulted in the first reported casualties on UAE soil during this conflict. Kuwait also faced heavy fire. Drones targeted critical fuel infrastructure at the international airport, causing massive fires and bringing regional air travel to a complete standstill. Riyadh has now issued a definitive ultimatum. Continued attacks on Saudi energy facilities will face direct military retaliation from the kingdom's own forces. In a major policy shift, Saudi Arabia is considering allowing U.S. forces to use their bases for offensive operations if Iranian strikes on their territory persist. Diplomatic friction has also emerged between the U.S. and Britain. The tension stems from London's initial refusal to grant base access for the opening strikes of the war. Prime Minister Keir Starmer cited legal and strategic hurdles for the delay. Despite the rift, Britain is now preparing to deploy its carrier strike group to the region. Reports suggest a deeper layer of complexity: Russian intelligence. Moscow is allegedly providing Tehran with real-time targeting data to hit U.S. assets more accurately. The global economy is reeling. With the Strait of Hormuz effectively closed, energy prices have reached their highest levels in years, threatening a worldwide recession. Roughly 20 million barrels of oil a day are currently stalled. The shipping disruption is crippling global logistics and manufacturing at an alarming rate. To mitigate the crisis, the U.S. has granted India a temporary waiver to continue buying Russian crude, a decision facing heavy bipartisan criticism in Washington. In Tehran, a leadership vacuum persists following the death of the supreme leader. A temporary council is struggling as military hardliners and civilian leaders clash. President Pezeshkian issued a rare apology to Gulf neighbors in an effort to cool regional anger. However, this move was immediately rejected by the Revolutionary Guard. Military commanders have asserted that strikes on U.S. and Israeli interests will continue, regardless of diplomatic efforts, as long as the bombardment of Iran persists. The war has also widened to the north. Israel has targeted Hezbollah strongholds in Beirut, while Haifa has faced a barrage of retaliatory rocket fire. Beirut's southern suburbs have been reduced to rubble. The death toll in Lebanon is rising rapidly, adding a tragic humanitarian dimension to the conflict. The human cost is staggering. Over 1,300 civilians are reported dead in Iran, with thousands more displaced and fleeing the intense aerial campaigns. Beyond the battlefield, a silent war is being fought. Cyber attacks have targeted civilian and military networks, further complicating the regional security landscape. U.S. electronic defense systems have been heavily involved, with some strikes on civilian sites reportedly resulting from the interception of incoming missiles. In Washington, a federal judge has invalidated actions taken by Kari Lake as head of global media, ruling her leadership violated federal law during the height of the crisis. The ruling reverses sweeping staff cuts and operational changes at Voice of America, ensuring the stability of U.S. global broadcasting during the conflict. The administration is facing mounting pressure to tap the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Bipartisan critics argue more must be done to lower soaring gas prices. President Trump remains confident, stating that the U.S. has a tremendous amount of oil and that the current market pressures will be resolved quickly. All eyes are now on Tehran's Assembly of Experts. A meeting is expected within 24 hours to choose a new supreme leader, a decision that will define the war's future. The selection will determine if Iran seeks a path to de-escalation or commits to a long-term war against U.S. and Israeli interests in the region. Internationally, the diplomatic path is stalled. The UN remains deadlocked as the U.S. administration continues its refusal to negotiate with the current Tehran leadership. Across the globe, thousands have taken to the streets to protest the violence. The call for a ceasefire is growing louder from Washington to Baghdad. As we enter the second week, the stakes for the world have never been higher. This war is a fundamental test of the international order that has stood for decades. The 10-day war has already cost thousands of lives and trillions in market value. The path back to stability remains long and dangerously uncertain. We will continue to follow every development. Our teams remain on the ground across the Middle East to bring you the latest. Thank you for joining us for this special report. Stay with us for continuous updates. I'm reporting from our Global News Center.